Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL Late Night Love Songs. My name's Suj.
My name's James. You ain't getting no love songs from me after that shower shit I just watched from Tottenham.
I thought because it's late night, James, we could play some Barry White.
To be honest with you,
feel better.
Me and Mourinho really is, in the words of Lady Gaga, a really fucking bad romance, mate.
Yeah, ladies and gents, it's the end of game week 15. We have a, what is it, about 12? No, not 12, but more like a 15, 16-hour turnaround, James, before the day at the game week 16 deadline. We know so many of our listeners are on the old Wildcard, James, so we thought we'd record.
It's only our listeners. If you ask the other podcasters, they've all used it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's only our listeners.
Yeah, so Wildcard time. And so we thought we'd record a little pod, talk about the weekend's fixtures. I mean, it is Christmas and it is a very, very fast turnaround. But before we do, just a quick question, James. How was your Christmas? Was it all right?
My Christmas was very nice, sir. And yours?
Yeah, lovely. Bang.
Very low key. Obviously, didn't see my mum and dad. Had a video call with them and stuff. But yeah, look, is what it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Had a nice bit of beef and watched some footy yesterday and today for what it was worth. And into the games we go. What about from an FPL point of view? Where do you stand? Have you used live FPLrank.net?
Yeah, the rank now starts with a 1.
Okay.
According to new rank post auto subs, 1 million. I don't want to do the rest. 989,000. 50 points for the game week. Martinez and Watkins, 21 points between them. Double clean sheet, Diaz and Cancelo is essentially my week. It would have been an extremely good week, but for obviously the West Bromwich Albion goal. I mean, the Salah captaincy was neither here nor there because he was so highly captained.
Yeah, exactly.
But, the West Brom goal stopped an okay week being a very good week.
Yeah, I think it was one of those really weird, frustrating weeks where it promised to be so good and going into the Liverpool and Spurs games for me. And then Robertson, Salah, Son and Kane, for all 4 of them to blank. Salah being captain ended up making it quite an average week. But I did end up on 57 points, James. Just on one thing, I think you had a 1-point-something million rank last week, didn't you? I think you were at 1-point-something already.
No, I fell back out of it by the end of the game week. So nightmare. I still, green arrows all the way, mate. I honestly have had 2 red arrows all season.
Nice.
Just really, really big red arrows.
I ended up on 57 points for the week.
Nice.
And when you factor in those blanks from the big heavy hitters in Robbo, Son, Salah and Kane, it's not too bad at all. But Bruno Fernandes started off the game week very well. I had the Cancelo clean sheet in BPS, McCarthy clean sheet. Souček doing what Souček does. And I'm proud to say I'm proud to say that he has been in my team every goal he's scored this season so far. I won't be benching him at all. And Patrick Bamford obviously returned as well. And I know if you have sold him in the last couple of
Obviously,
weeks.
Can't believe that I didn't pick Souček and Cole Walker-Peters over Heung-min Son and Mohamed Salah. I mean,
of course.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, of course. Knowing how bad Brighton are on set pieces. Nudge, nudge.
This is very true. And how bad Fulham are offensively.
Yeah, I mean...
to be fair, I had a team that ended up looking like a free hit this week. My team was so strong this week. It should have been a great week. It's turned out to be an okay week. It is what it is.
Yeah, you're ahead of the overall average by about 10 points, and you're bang on with the top 10k average. So I think we take that and we move on.
Yeah,
because it's coming thick and fast. And as we mentioned earlier, both James and I being on Wildcard, at the end of the show, we will be running down our wildcards and where we stand on what we're about to do. And of course, we're going to give you a rundown of the 10 fixtures. Now, with the tight turnaround, we probably won't go on as much as we normally do until we get to West Ham and Spurs, in which case we'll have a little rant.
Probably.
Let's
get into games.
Yeah, go on. Leicester 2, Manchester United 2.
Bruno doing Bruno things again, right? I mean, one blank away from home so far since he joined the club. It's scandalously ridiculous. I've decided now, the plan was kind of to fall into the idea where I got him in game week 19. Just get him in. Just get it done. I bought him yesterday before his price rise on Saturday night. So he's going to be in this wild card now. He might be the only Manchester United player I take with me. At the moment, I'm probably unlikely to take any Leicester with me as well. So probably about right in terms of result in the end. But I guess United fans will feel like they threw it away, having been ahead twice. Big chances in the game. For Rashford's
they did have a lot of good
as
chances,
well.
didn't they?
So, I mean, probably about right. It was a strange game. I don't think either side's particularly unhappy with the draw. I mean, they're both kind of competing in a similar area at the moment.
Yeah.
I know
it wasn't a bad game, but it lacked that last bit of quality. I felt United, from an attacking point of view, had another gear that they could have probably gone to from a quality point of view. Because I didn't think Martial was particularly up to much. He lost the ball, a few sloppy passes here and there. I didn't think he hasn't had a shag, basically, as we'd say on this show recently.
Yep.
Whereas
he
if
needs
Cavani,
a shag, but he might shag his way into my wildcard tonight.
if Cavani gets into that team, it's very interesting for me. I mean, I've been sitting on Bruno for a little while, and he's not about to go anywhere for me. In terms of the wild card, Jamie Vardy is coming in for Harry Kane. I need to free up some money to tinker around elsewhere, and that's one of the places where I can do that. And I was originally going to hold Heung-min Son through. Quite a lot of that was to do with value. Like I bought him at 9.1, he's at 9.7, so I'd get 9.4. I tell you what, Marcus Rashford at 9.5 though.
Yeah, screaming, isn't it?
Is screaming, because I was worried that if I sell Son and I want to get back to Son, I'm going to have to pay another 0.3, 0.4 million. But I feel like Rashford, I could cover him off, and he's looking good from when he came on against us in that second half. My God, that guy's a talent. So Rashford may work his way in. Vardy will be in. Bruno Fernandes will be in.
I feel like we're coming to a clear path now with the premiums. That Salah and Fernandes are the two. That's how it is right now, template-wise. I think some of the fixes that Manchester City are about to come into, perhaps if KDB can pick up some form, if Aguero starts playing, might begin to change people's minds. And obviously, you've got the Spurs guys. Jokes aside, do still have good fixtures coming up. But I think in terms of two premiums, most people in their mind right now are thinking, I'd like to have Bruno Fernandes and Mohamed Salah as the main two. And then, to be honest, with those two, you can almost make a week-to-week case in terms of which one you pick from captain and just roll from there, because particularly with Bruno's away form and his consistency, you don't need to worry about the fixture so much. Salah does feel like there are certain games with Salah, particularly away from home, you think, I can see him having a quiet day today, but then you wouldn't expect him having a quiet day like he did up today. I mean, he wasn't in the game really. He never felt like Mohamed Salah was going to score today. Martial, Rashford, not off my list in terms of what I want to do for United. Defensively, I'd crossed them off. Lindelof price was kind of attractive, but he picked up a back knock yesterday, so that's being assessed. That rules him out. Wan-Bissaka's injured as well, so he might have some issues defensively in the short term. And they're far from perfect defensively anyway. On Leicester, the only one I can see me taking with to start is Justin, who I did buy last night to get the rise out of and then just leave it and have a decision on it. At the moment, he's in. And he's coming, and that's probably because I don't need him this week, with no clue whether he plays or not away to Crystal Palace. If last year's anything to go by, Leicester are going to mass rotate at Crystal Palace on Monday, is my instinct. I'd be very surprised if Jamie Vardy plays. From that perspective, I can't carry him at the start. If he's in that team on Monday, I'll be gutted because I'll be thinking, shit, I should have just gone with him. But I don't think he plays at Palace, and therefore I can't be going straight into that money on a wild card, in my opinion. Maddison, I got my eye on further down the road. I kind of leaned into the idea, I'll talk about it more at the end, that like there's so many ongoing issues with injuries and whatnots that the idea of planning for, I'll go Kane to Vardy in game week 19, I'm beginning to think, I don't really want to do that. Yeah. Because I'm going to have other issues anyway, almost definitely. I think we all are. So the idea of thinking, I'll make that move in 17, I'll make that move in 19. If I get to 17, I've got no issues and I'm in a luxury position where I can make a transfer, then something I feel in my mind might be different to what it feels now when I'm making the decision, right? Yep. But I'm beginning to lean into the idea of just not going with Spurs because it's doing my fucking head in anyway. And I would definitely be planning to come off on 19. I know some people even planning to go Kane to Vardy in 17 as Kane's about to play Leeds, which just doesn't feel particularly right. But then Vardy's got Newcastle, which is obviously very
Good fixture
attractive.
as well.
I won't start with Vardy, but I might well leave the money there to go and have him.
Yeah,
is part of my thing. And if I can't get there, I can't get there.
Let's talk about Villa 3, Palace 0. As a Watkins owner, which you are, as a
I'm
Grealish,
not anymore.
yeah, I know you sold him, but as a Grealish owner as well, if you look at the last 3 or 4 or 5 game weeks, I mean, Villa assets should have scored way more FPL points than they have.
Oh, Ollie Watkins particularly.
I mean,
unbelievable.
On one side, you look at the 3 assists, and all 3 could have been goals rather than assists. So you could say they're jammy assists, but he should have finished it. First hits the post a couple of times, and the last one, if he'd taken a better first touch, maybe he could have got a shot off himself. So really, but if you look at the overall game, Villa are the real deal here. Like I'm going to own no Villa with the wild card because of 19, but I think I'm going to be very quickly looking to get back because they're very good going forward. I'm not really talking defensively, but Grealish, Watkins, even Barkley, who's due another price fall again, maybe down to 5.8 tonight. I think Villa are the real deal here. I think they've really got something good going on.
I think the thing is, and we should say for the listeners, obviously, look, me and Suj are on our wild card at the moment. So there is a bias towards teams that are playing in 19 in our thinking at the moment. That said, look, they're about to walk into Chelsea away and Manchester United away after a fantastic run of fixtures that's gone on for about 8 game weeks. So a lot of us, I think even those who took wild card in game week 9, game week 10, a lot were going with treble Villa and going, well, I'm going to hold this till Christmas. And absolutely reasonable to do so. I mean, Grealish is on fire. That's not really equating to the FPL returns that it should be, to be honest. Ollie Watkins at the weekend, honestly, he could have got 20 points plus easily. I mean, he had 10 shots on goal and he's put 3 assists on the table. How he's not scored in that game. And if he scores 1, he gets top bonus as well. So a goal would have been worth 7 points. That would have put him on 18. He could have had anything at the weekend. There was some outstanding performers for Villa. It was the best to see Matt Targett play probably since he first broke on the scene for Southampton, actually. It was absolutely brilliant at left back, and that's been a problem position for them for a while. Matty Cash on the other side, really good. Konsa and Hawes, after the sending off of Tyrone Mings, the idiot, dealt with the threats really well. Louise and McGinn in front, good partnership. And El Ghazi, all he wants to do is shoot at the moment as well. But I feel like from an FPL perspective, the decision now is you're in no buy zone now. I don't think you're looking at that and that suddenly Saturday made you go, oh, I want to buy these players now coming into Chelsea away and Man United away.
I don't know, James. You think about this, right? If you look at the fixture, obviously what Palace are good at is 2 banks of 4 and break us down. Now, when Villa went down to 10 men, the second half especially, Villa were playing on the counter, and that's where they were having a lot of success, like Grealish getting in behind and Watkins getting in behind and trying to hit Palace on the counter, which you don't normally get against the Crystal Palace team. It's going to be similar against Chelsea and what have you. I still think Villa on the counter are just as threatening as if they have to break a team down.
But I think if you were targeting players, say, for game week 18, the blank game week now, and you're planning towards that and maybe a free hit in 19, for example, I don't think now is the moment that's making you think I'll buy Villa. You're probably more on a strategy where you're deciding, okay, I'm going to hold them. Fine, reasonable, because honestly, you're right. They could cause Chelsea and Manchester United some issues. But you're not in a stage now. I don't think you look at Ollie Watkins' numbers at the weekend and think, shit, I want to buy him now. I don't think that's the case.
Not right now, but I do want him to stay at 6.1 so I can go there in a little while, and I don't want him to creep up too much. Even
if, say, you're sitting there with a Bamford or a Che Adams or something like that, and you're thinking, well, I want to plan for Watkins in 18, that's probably the last move you make. You probably aren't making that change beforehand. You might decide to ditch Adams before he plays Liverpool in 17, maybe. But I think they're off the table. Shout out to Emi Martinez as well, by the way, because he's done very well lately. He really has. He's solid as in goal. I don't really want to lose him, but yeah, if I'm heading for the bench boost, he's got to go. The nice thing about Villa players, and the particular example Grealish is, I miss him for Chelsea United away. I can obviously have him on the free hit. Yes, I'm going to miss Everton at home as well. But obviously, if I come out at 19, I'm in a position where I've got, let's say, Son or Rashford or either any one of them, the movement to Grealish, if I'm unhappy with it, is really straightforward and easy. And then you start moving the funds again with that spare money.
There is nothing interesting at Crystal Palace. Eze's all right and Zaha's all right, but they're walking into a dog run now. 3 of the next 4 are pretty difficult in Leicester, and who else is coming up for these guys?
Well, they've got Sheffield United in game week 17.
But then Arsenal, Man City, there straight after.
What I would say is if you've still got Wilfried Zaha, for example, and you're not on the wild card, I would hold him for the next 2. So like I said, I think it'll be a weaker Leicester and then it's Sheffield United. And the thing is with Zaha, you'll get this 2-1, 2-2, 1, 15. It's how he tends to be, right? So you hope you're going to hit one of them big ones. But they also fall into the category you wouldn't buy. Even if you were going towards 18, you wouldn't be buying Palace players, I don't think.
No.
Toilet, really bad, because you from 1-0, you thought like they'll get back in the game. It started okay. Zaha had a great chance himself at 0-0, but then they were so bad second half. Villa should have won by more than 3-0 by the end, and they played over a half with 10 men. It was superb from Aston Villa. They were brilliant.
Fulham 0, Southampton 0. Didn't watch this and doesn't feel like I missed much.
So I'll let you into a little secret. So I messaged Suj about 1 o'clock. I love that. Yeah. I'll let you into a secret. You're involved in the story. Message Suj, what's your plans for the 3 o'clock, 8 o'clock games? Because 2 on at the same time.
Yeah.
So Suj messages me back and he goes, yeah, I'm going to watch Villa and I'm going to watch Man City. And I'm like that.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, I've definitely got the short straw on this, but okay. Yeah. So watched Fulham Southampton and I had Villa and Palace on my phone on mute next to me. And I to be honest, I take the second half of Fulham and Southampton and watched it straight after Villa finished. I had to turn it over. It was so bad. I watched the second half of Fulham and Southampton in about 20 minutes because I watched most of it on like times 12 on the Sky Player. It was so rough. It was such a bad game. From 2 sides who've been quite... I mean, I really enjoy watching Southampton most of the time. So when you said, I thought, okay, yeah, I've got treble Villa, but I don't mind. I'll take Saints. That's fine. And Fulham have been much improved recently as well. And to be honest, part of what happened here is because Fulham have improved, made it a tough game. I think quite simply, one too many players missing here for Southampton. You've taken from the starting team that played Man City, you've just taken Vestergaard, Romeo and Ings out of that team. I mean, remove that spine from almost any team. It's going to be quite difficult, right? So I think they struggled a bit. The boy Diallo coming in midfield did okay. It definitely didn't have the same feeling up front with Shane Long playing alongside Che Adams. Defensively, Stevens and Bednarek did absolutely fine. And Bednarek is a very viable choice for Wildcard as we're on now, I think, at the cheaper price. I prefer him over Kyle Walker-Peters because KWP's on free bookings. That said, how Che Adams has not got a return out of this game, so another one in my team. I mean, Ward-Prowse, another trademark free kick that comes off the bar. And Adams does this really weird thing where he thinks, I'm going to head it. I'm going to let it bounce and I'm going to head it in. And he misjudges the bounce and his body weight's all wrong. And by the time he thinks, shit, I need to volley it, it's gone. He's also obviously assisted the disallowed goal for Long, which was obviously correctly ruled out for offside. If there was going to be a winner, it only ever really felt like Saints, but there wasn't anything really to write home about in this game. For Fulham, there are some interesting budget options. I really don't mind Areola as a rotating keeper. I think for those who are aiming for 19 and looking for the cheap boys, you've obviously got him, Johnston, Meslier and Alex McCarthy. You're probably choosing 2 from those 4, unless you want to pay the extra for Nick Pope, for example, or Edouard Mendy, perhaps. Lookman, cheap. Anguissa, if you're happy to have a 4.5 million midfielder. It's really good again, Anguissa. I like him. Good player. I would prefer Lookman over Cavallero.
Was there anything in the Fulham game? So like you, I mean, you're on single Spurs now. I'm on double Spurs. And I was really looking at holding my Spurs assets.
Really might be on Fulham 0 game. Spurs by the time this podcast
finishes,
mate.
You saw enough from Fulham to think that Spurs won't be steamrolling them in game week 16.
Fulham will more of the ball on Wednesday.
Right.
Genuinely,
Wolves did in the second half
even if I decide tonight, do you know what, James? Is Fulham and Leeds, go with Kane and Son, or one of them. I will definitely captain Mohamed Salah this game week. That's zero question about it for me. And next weekend, Salah away to Southampton or Bruno at home to Villa. I'm not particularly bothered. I stick the armband on either. Or it might be I've got Vardy at that point away to Newcastle. So I think that because of the way the fixtures map out for Spurs, the Leeds game is a little bit more attractive from a captaincy perspective. Fulham will have more of the ball on Wednesday. I'm not joking. They will have more than 50% possession against us. What I hope is that Spurs don't go in front to about minute 90, and I might actually enjoy the game.
Interesting. Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. Back in the hunt for the top 4. Gooners going to win the league. I mean,
do you know what? If Arsenal was going to win a game, I'll have it be this one. It was a good one for them to win.
Surprising. The result, I don't think anybody saw, including Gooners. Now, Chelsea, apart from the win against us, which was fairly routine, had some dog results in the last few weeks.
Were Willian and David Luiz really ill? We know obviously Gabriel is isolating because he's I don't think he's got it. I think someone he's been in contact with has got it. So I think he's actually okay, but he won't play now till at least the Palace fixture in game week 18. David Luiz and Willian had illness. Now, if we rewind a week or two ago here, those were the two who supposedly was rumoured to be going to Edu and saying, we want this guy out of the club. And they both happened to get illness. Whether it's a coincidence that all these Brazilian guys got an illness, I don't know. Maybe they had a samba party on Christmas Day. Gabriel Martinelli, or Martinelli, as my wife said, obviously didn't turn up to that Christmas Day samba party. It could be that Arteta's made the decision here to do what I said he has to do to survive and get them out, which means that you go on a football pitch and 1 to 11, you've got an inferior 11 on the football pitch, but you've got 11 men on the pitch for you that you know will go out there and die. And Saka is the one player who throughout this has brought enthusiasm and energy to anything Arsenal have been doing. And Martinelli, he's a Duracell bunny, mate. He's such a non-typical Arsenal player in that sense. He just doesn't stop. When he makes mistakes or if someone doesn't give him the ball, he seems angry. He's really motivated. He's obviously missed a long period through injury. He's already bringing energy to that side. And Smith Rowe did a really intelligent job playing in the 10 position, actually. He did really well. He gave Chelsea some real tactical issues with his positional. It was a bit of a throwback. I think, when was the last time you seen someone play for Arsenal who looked like they're not wearing shin pads and stuff? He did okay. He didn't excel, but he did some things in the game which gave Chelsea some issues. So you had that front three behind Lacazette. Aubameyang sitting on the bench, didn't even need him. He's to come back into the team. And, all right, it was a bit of patchwork defensively and admittedly.
Pablo Mari and Rob Holding,
to be honest.
behind Xhaka and El Neni.
That's not going to go well every week.
No.
And they would have shit themselves if Jorginho scored the penalty. They would have shit. 100%. And at that point, all of us were thinking, fucking hell, Chelsea only need one attack here and they might actually finish 3-3. But they thoroughly deserved to win Arsenal. They were by miles the better. And actually, before Chelsea made it 3-1, it was more likely that Arsenal were going to go and make it 4-0. They were very good, fair dues to them, because they've obviously been battered from fucking everywhere. Brighton away next for them. Brighton haven't won a home game.
The grudge match from last season.
Since the Neil Maupay game in June. Yeah. So, if the stars are aligned, Brighton will beat Arsenal on Tuesday. And normal order will be restored.
I think Arsenal are going to win. I think they'll have it in the dressing room. Look, remember what happened here last time round, and I think they'll be up for it.
You can't really predict a Brighton game because you never know from one game to the next what system or team they're going to play, basically.
Bukayo Saka has made his way into my wildcard team.
Okay, James. Why is that?
I looked at price. It's obviously a massive attraction at 5.1 million. He's very cheap. He started the last 6 and he's played 90 minutes in the last 6 as well. Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that Arteta's taken that point of view of I want people on the pitch that are going to play and die for the cause.
Pochettino had to do at Tottenham as well. Yeah, get
Saka's
on the pitch if you need
without a doubt, is if you talk to any Gooner fans and anybody that watches Arsenal regularly, they love the kid and they want him. If Martinelli had gotten fit a bit earlier at 4.9, I think he's actually a really good shout. But Saka at 5.1, I'm not going to have any other Gooners. The truth is their fixtures are decent in that double. So if I'm going to have one and it's the 5.1 Saka and I'm going to get 2 lots of 90 out of him, I don't think it's too bad a shout. The alternative is I need to get Jack Harrison or Rafinha, but then I need to go and find 0.3.
Are you happy for Saka to sit as part of your bench boost potentially?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He's
Okay.
not. He's
if
bench
you're happy
boost.
with that, fine.
Yeah, he'll be bench boost. I'll get 2 games out of him, 2 lots of 2 points, and if I get 1 return,
He's only got 1 game in 19. You plonker. That's what I'm saying.
Why was I thinking Arsenal had a double?
I don't know. They've got Newcastle at home, mate.
Well,
back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I was really convinced that we talked about how Arsenal were going to go on a good run.
They do have 4 great fixtures.
Yeah,
so to be honest, no, seriously, I don't mind if. And to be honest, if you got cojones, I don't even mind Aubameyang either, right? Because they do have 4 great fixtures: Brighton, West Brom, Palace, Newcastle. That was my point. Was to you, are you happy to have Saka as part of your bench boost when you're at home to Newcastle?
Well, now that I'm getting rid of, I was going to have a single game week player, which was Heung-min Son. Now that he's on his way out and out the door, possibly, maybe not. I think that means I'm going to be looking to find the 5 million midfielder to replace him, because that extra 0.1 will mean that I can then go from Heung-min Son to Marcus Rashford. I don't know why I've slipped.
For those who are running through and not using chips, Arsenal were a decent proposition, genuinely. 4 good fixtures. Okay, Southampton, Man United, Wolves on the other side's not brilliant, but particularly Saka at his value. You could always choose as well. If you're using the triple captain in 19, you could leave him on the bench, right? For those not using the bench boost, for example. So I think it's reasonable. I think even Aubameyang's reasonable. I think Leno is a decent one if you were carrying through, although you probably don't want to fuck about your goalkeeper. Tierney is probably a little expensive for wanting an Arsenal defender at the moment. So I think Saka, he's a reasonable shout, actually. And I think he is. For those, and there are many out there, trust me, who are not looking to use any chips in these game weeks. Saka is the sort of one who'll carry you through. He's absolutely fine. Chelsea were fucking dreadful, mate.
But Reece James is back.
He was dreadful for the first time, probably in a Chelsea shirt.
He's just come back from injury, right? I'm still on the Reece James train, let's say, mainly because I sold him before this weekend. And I can buy him back at the same price that I sold him because he had a price drop. So I'm happy with that. Reece James at the moment is in the wildcard. He's coming back on for that double.
At the moment, I have no Chelsea players in the wildcard. And a lot to do with that is 2 difficult fixtures coming up. Aston Villa and Manchester City before the double. Yep. If I was to have one, then it would probably be Reece James as well. Can't be having Giroud or Abraham. If one of them was ruled out injured for 3 weeks, I'd be all over it. I'd be all over the other one. But guess away what's going to play. Pulisic, not yet. It might be a luxury move further down the line that I can get to if I have a problem or something, maybe. None of the others, Havertz, Werner, all them, none of them would interest me. Chilwell, if you've been on from sort of 5.5 and stuff, brilliant. Congratulations. I'm not paying that 6.2 million for that when they've got those 2 fixtures coming up, and I don't think they keep a clean sheet in either of them.
We talked about the evening games. I said I was going to take Man City just because I didn't want to watch Sheffield Utd Everton. And to be honest, mate, I mean, snooze fest. I could have knitted a scarf or something in this one.
Yeah. Well, I did go to sleep.
It was just too routine for City.
We knew it would be, didn't we?
Yeah. It was, I mean, very similar to the Liverpool game today. The difference being that obviously City had a more comfortable cushion than Liverpool did, and obviously Liverpool ended up shitting the bed themselves. So, but City, it was so routine and easy for them.
So, I ended up buying Cancelo before the game because, you know, if one thing that sum up 2020 is that Jesus got fucking COVID on Christmas Day, the news of him and Kyle Walker getting it meant I'm looking and going, I've only got one other right back. Could Cancelo play both games here? And I wouldn't rule out going into Monday with Cancelo as well, if I think I'm brave enough, but then I would probably come off. And I'm thinking about it going, oh, that's the one. I've been looking for another 1 week punt. I go Cancelo. I go double City with Cancelo and Diaz. And even if they both don't play, and I didn't think Diaz would play, if they both don't play, then I've got Kyle Walker-Peters 8 points coming off the bench, haven't I? So they both played. And I think the one thing that came out of it was City's team at Everton won't be too dissimilar, I think, to the team that played against Newcastle, because the game was such a stroll. It was just like an extensive training session in pissing rain and wind, which didn't help either game Saturday night, by the way.
You look
weather
at the
conditions were brutal.
I mean, if you want to look at the stats on the game, because I felt at the end of it, let me actually have a look at how dominant City were. It was like 700 and something passes to 100 and something, like 90 something percent accuracy versus Newcastle were garbage. The only thing was they didn't muster a lot of shots on goal, considering how much dominance they had, which again just goes to show they didn't need to. Every time they wanted to raise the tempo a little bit, they did, and Aguero could have got himself on the score sheet and what have you. But other than that, I mean, this was put your feet up time and too easy for City.
Very quietly, Manchester City have 5 clean sheets in 6 in the Premier League. And the only goal conceded was that Ruben Diaz own goal against West Brom.
Yep.
The stories here from an FPL perspective, I think, is Cancelo was best player on the pitch by miles.
Yep.
Starting position of right back, but very much inverted and with license to basically go where he wanted from central midfield positions, because Newcastle ain't a threat on the counter attack, no problem. And we'll just tuck him from left side with Nathan Ake, who is a centre half, so it becomes like a free with the ball, no problem. Whether he'll regularly play like that, I wouldn't judge too much. A lot of that's on the opponent. I think he probably plays again at Everton. I think Diaz and Stones probably play again at Everton. I think he'll probably change left back, because probably Zinchenko or Mendy will come in. And Rodri come off in early, so if he's fit, he'll probably play him with Fernandinho, who replaced him. De Bruyne will probably play again. And then it's what's your luck from the front three, right? Whether it's Sterling. Aguero did get minutes at the end, and he looked okay. Guardiola was quite happy with his sharpness. I'm not convinced that he would start, though, if you're feeling fruity about it. De Bruyne is causing a lot of headaches here. Now, the narrative, of course, is he hasn't scored a goal from open play in the Premier League this season. His ownership is still monstrously high, and at the moment, he's not justifying the returns. I think Thomas Souček might have the same FPL points as him now, for example. And it's worth saying he's obviously missed a few games. And this was a story, again, where if De Bruyne goes through early in the game and scores the one-on-one chance, potentially he's looking at a double pointer here just off that goal because of his involvement in the game. So fine lines, but at the moment, it doesn't feel, and particularly with the 2 difficult games that you have coming up, which Everton is still a difficult game, and then Chelsea away, before an extremely good run. At this moment, it doesn't feel justifiable to have De Bruyne over Fernandes or Salah. That's the real... Unless you are specifically planning to go to game week 18, you're hard-pressed, I think, to pick him over the others at the moment. And I think the thing for me is, think back to the Wolves game in game week 2 and watching that game that night, and I was like, I can't get him back now. Can't deal with not owning him. It's ridiculous. And if he got an injury, and it's like, okay, as soon as he's back fit, I'll get him back. And this has now gone on for like 6-7 weeks, and I haven't had him back, and I haven't missed him, and I haven't felt the urge to want him back either.
When I was watching the game, the thing that came to me, I just literally off the back of selling him was like, you know what, this is a masterstroke selling him now, because I'd made a bit of money on him as well. And quite often with FPL, because it is a guessing game, right? You're trying to pick players before they come into form so you can steal a march on other managers. I'm not going to do that with De Bruyne now. I'm not going to go back to Kevin De Bruyne until I've seen it. Not when I sense it, because every week it's imminent, right? Every week he's taking shots and trying to run the game, but it's not dropping. I want to see it before I go back to Kevin De Bruyne, rather than try and second guess it and try and get ahead of the curve with him. I feel for the guy. He's really trying to push the team, and look, they're up to 5th now. City are going to slowly and surely find their way to 2nd in the league in the next few weeks. But I want to see it from Kevin De Bruyne before I actually
have an incredible run of fixtures from game week 18, and in spite of what we're seeing from them offensively, it's going to be scary to go without some of them for that big run, because quite suddenly from nowhere, Sterling could go and get 8 goals in those 5 fixtures they've got from there, for example. De Bruyne could do similar. Diaz, Cancelo, and John Stones at the moment is staying that team, and he's deserving to do so. Now, I can't guarantee that he will play again against Everton, but I think should it be Diaz and Stones again, that then becomes a very serious and clear signal that John Stones is now first choice. I think a lot of us, a little bit like me, I'm just conscious in the back of my mind, this whole stuff with Laporte doesn't make sense to me. It's not like he's been thrown out or something. He's on the bench every week. Okay? Yeah. I know Laporte's a better player than Stones. This is going to change at some point. But Stones is playing well, and the City fans I speak to, including FPL Pringle, say, look, at the moment, this is the best he's played for City. he deserves to stay in the team, and that's what's happening. And they're not conceding goals, so why would you change it?
Exactly.
City are keeping themselves in with a shout for the title, not because of what they're doing offensively, but because actually what they're doing defensively.
Really good. Let's talk about Sheffield United versus Everton. You know what? I'm coming to the end of that game because I do keep an eye on the scores on my phone. I was thinking, you know what? They've got a point. They've got a point for themselves here, Sheffield United, and again they throw away a late lead.
To be honest, I was watching the game thinking, if you've got to win this game, to play an Everton with no Richarlison, no James Rodriguez, no Allen, no fullbacks, no Luka Dean, right? Seamus Coleman was left out, so Mason Holgate played right back again, which I spoke about the narrowness for Everton working against some of these more high-profile opponents. It didn't work so great for him against Sheffield United at the weekend when and actually neither Holgate or Godfrey played badly, by the way. It's just, you got a bit more time to think about what you're doing on the ball. He's not so clever. So Everton were there to be beat. Everton very quietly a second, have won 4 games in a row and are doing very well, and yet none of us want any of their FPL assets. Let that sink in for a moment.
Gylfi, he's got to be in.
Nah, forget it. They've got difficult fixtures. City, West Ham, Wolves, Villa, Leicester's the next 5. It's not a great run. And I'll be honest, they're in a great position at the moment, Everton, but I don't think they'll win many of them 5 games. Richarlison will probably be back for West Ham, which would be a lift for them. I couldn't see anything but City going there and beating them at the moment with no Richarlison. I assume James will be out again. But that back 4, if they decide to play that way against City, it might work. It might work, particularly if they score first in the game. Calvert-Lewin. I think for those like me and you, Suj, on a wild card, I think you got rid ages ago, didn't you? Am I right?
Never owned for the entire season.
Okay. Well, I've owned for probably since about game week 6 or 7 now.
Yeah.
He's done absolutely fine for me, been ticking over. He had one brilliant effort in the first half, which, chest and volley, if he'd finished it, was probably goal of the season so far. But ends up with a booking 1 pointer. Nice time to throw him out with them fixtures as well. No consideration. And I just think it's interesting. Everton second, 4 wins on the bounce. We ain't talking about their assets, and we don't even know where to go, do we?
No, not at the moment.
It's a strange one. Sheffield United have got to win the next 3 games or they'll go down.
Well, we talked about 3 wins from 5. It's now 3 from 3, isn't it, really?
Yeah, they have to win all 3 of these games.
Yeah, the problem now is you look at the goal difference as well, and they're already down to like minus 20.
Well, if you win 3 games in a row, it might be minus 15 or something, and it might not look so bad, right? They have to go to Burnley and win this week, or forget it.
Wow, and that's a nice segue into Burnley because obviously Leeds won, Burnley 0 this morning as the first game of the day. I don't think Sheffield United, Burnley were not bad today. And especially in the second half, they did create.
Someone
chances
on the Slack channel, on our Patreon Slack, made a comment that watching Tottenham was becoming like watching Burnley. Let me assure you that Burnley are playing a lot fucking better at the moment. They were unlucky today, Burnley.
You can't see Sheffield United getting anything out of that game.
Yeah, I can actually. I can, because the onus being on Burnley doesn't necessarily suit them. But if you ask me for a prediction, what we're all going to say? 1-0 Burnley. We're all going to say the same thing right now, aren't we? They were unlucky. You've put yourself in a position exactly what you did when you went to Ellen Road, and obviously you played really well that night and thoroughly deserved to win. Bamford goes through penalties, almost like identical. Bamford's now on pens. We know what a clickbait that is. Until he misses one, so he says. So that just adds to the Patrick. He's an absolute lock on this wild card, Patrick Bamford, by the way. He's going to miss loads of chances and he ain't going to hit BPS often, but sometimes he's going to go off, mate.
Max BPS today, just saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's because he didn't have many efforts today.
Yeah.
It's all about the conversion rate, mate. 100% conversion rate. I think that was the only shot he had. And that's probably why he hit top bonus rather than missing 4 or 5 chances.
Yeah.
The disallowed goal that Burnley had is a joke. It's a fucking penalty.
Yeah.
If anything. And Burnley's second half, do you know what? I bought Meslier in Sky this morning. What a nightmare owning Leeds defensive assets. Every time the ball comes in the box, you think they're gonna concede. But they managed to get through it. I don't really know how they got through all the balls that came into the box, but they did. I think Leeds fans will know themselves that they weren't at their best today. But it's the flip of last week, right? Leeds, isn't it brilliant? But they lost 6-2. This week, not their best 1-1-0. I don't know what Leeds fans prefer. That they weren't at their best. It probably is a little bit of caution came into the fact of the Struijk played at centre-half as well.
Yep.
I mean, it was so patched up today. They got the job done, basically because Burnley aren't ruthless enough and don't have a good goal scorer. Having said that, Chris Wood might be in the wildcard because I just look at the next two and think Sheffield United, Fulham at home. If I've got a luxury and I'm in the position, if he's back fit to go Wood to Antonio in 19, great. If I can't, then I've got Chris Wood for the double and it fucking is what it is. Liverpool don't have a defence again now.
No.
And the other fixture's West Ham, which is not the worst.
My version of Thomas Souček to you is Stuart Dallas, because I keep benching him and he keeps picking up points on the bench the last 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, it is frustrating because I think, well, my plan is to play him against West Brom. I was probably going to bench him against Tottenham, but Stuart Dallas, but he's a good asset to own. He's going up and up in value. He's riding through the wild card with me. I'm sticking with.
I know it's raw for me at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds beat us next weekend. Genuinely. West Brom this week's an interesting one. Not going to be easy on what we saw off what Sam's going to do today, right? So, okay, yeah, fine. Throw balls into the box. We'll head everything out. We've seen this from Sam Allardyce's teams before, right? So not as easy as it might look, but actually the sheer numbers of leads might overpower West Brom in that game. So that's an interesting one, actually. Whereas I think 2 weeks ago, we'd have looked at that straightforward and thought all Leeds could go off in this fixture. But that might not necessarily be the case now. Bamford is definitely coming in on the wild card. Rafinha is probably coming with 2. I don't think it's clear-cut him over Harrison. I might end up with both. I am probably going to avoid defensively and use someone like Dallas as a nice fallback option in case I fall into problems. What I'm trying to do with a lot of this is only pick 2 from teams, like Liverpool and stuff. So if I want to add a third, a little bit like that, what I said with Antonio, go Bruyne and Souček, and if I can get to Antonio on the day, great. If I can't, then I can't. Charlie Taylor is very interesting from Burnley, and at the moment he's in for me.
Matt Lowton's in for me at the moment at 4.4. It's just based on price really more than anything else. Yeah. I think that Nick Pope is the one player that I'm regretting the most not being able to get into my wild card. I really want him for the Sheffield United Fulham games that are about to come up. And then obviously he's got a double as well. But I just can't afford him.
Is this the revenge though? They've just conceded. I think the only goals they've conceded the only goals Nick Pope's conceded in about 7-8 game weeks is 2 penalties in the last 2, because obviously he didn't play against Man City. Is this the revenge? All those non-Pope owners are finally getting their revenge slowly. I mean, it was interesting that nobody was, when Wolves got the late penalty against Burnley, no one on Twitter was going, lucky Burnley.
Yeah.
When they looked locked on for the clean sheet in that particular game.
Matt Lowton's basically the comfort blanket that is not owning Nick Pope through my wild card. If I can't have Nick Pope, well, I've got a defensive cover, so that'll do. And Matt Lowton's going to play for me in the next 2 weeks as well. Before obviously,
but yeah, that's why I like Taylor as well, because I mean, definitely play against Sheffield United, and then Fulham might be touch and go whether he did or didn't for me. Like at Sheffield United this week, with what I've got with coming, which currently would be Trent and Robbo, everyone knows I don't give a shit. Bruyne away to Southampton. Justin, I don't think he'll play. I would definitely play Taylor against Sheffield United. That's one of the reasons he's probably likely to come with me at the moment. They were unlucky today, Burnley, really unlucky. I really like Josh Brownhill in midfield. Every time I watch him, he looks a better player. It's a good player.
It's decent. West Ham 2, Brighton 2. Who would have thought this would have been the most entertaining game of the day? West Ham were rubbish today. Well,
entertaining from what?
Well, compared to the Liverpool game was boring as hell, because literally, do I want to watch Liverpool just lay in siege to the West Brom goal? I didn't watch the second. Well, yeah, I didn't watch the second half because I was so bored by the first half.
They could have lost in the end, mate.
It's true. And your game, it wasn't. Wolves were good in the second half. So honestly, it was interesting. I think both managers were trying to be clever tactically in the way they set their teams up.
It was an awful game.
I don't think it was bad at all. I think it was
terrible, mate.
If you look at the first half, West Ham, we didn't we didn't have the ball at all, right? Obviously, I don't know what the final stats were on possession. It's going to be something like 65-35, something like that. But I felt through the first half, I was like, all right. I didn't care not having the ball because I've seen it with us against so many teams where we don't have as much of the possession and then we hit teams on the counter. But the difference here was that when we got the ball and we tried to do anything offensively, we were just rubbish. Like there was Fornals and Bowen and if Antonio's there or had it, normally can do a little bit more than what we were able to do today. And I thought that would be the case when we lined up with Noble in the team as well. Ben Johnson's got a long way to go to really make it. So that first half was not great, but I didn't really care. It really felt like, you know what, if they're going to have the ball and we're not going to have any possession, yeah, fine, so be it. Because I didn't feel like Brighton at any point were going to hurt us. You look at the Mopé goal, it was scrappy, right? It was a bundle in the box and then they got the shot away and off it goes. And then you look at the goal in the second half, like dodgy header off Souček, who knows, handball or not, you don't really want to see him given, so sod it, let it be. Another kind of cock up in the box. But apart from that, for all the possession that Brighton had, and I think they did play better than we did, and they were definitely better on the ball, they didn't create enough chances. I think this is the story of Brighton, isn't it? They play good football, they've got good football players, but in the final third, they're just not ruthless enough at creating chances.
I think Brighton players, after probably Sheffield United, are the least desirable in FPL at the moment. Sanchez in goal is ropey. I know he's coming up. Matt Ryan's obviously had a bad season. He's ropey as well. Ben White today, I had to forcibly tell myself that it wasn't Ben White playing in the position that he was playing in, which was essentially right wing back. It was so uncomfortable to watch. And interestingly, I think it actually might have even played a part in the equalising goal because he just let Souček go. Because I think there's little things he's thinking, where do I go after this? This is a bit weird. Yeah. And actually, he's disappointed. For me, he hasn't. I thought he was going to stand out like a sore thumb this year at centre half from what Leeds fans had been saying on last year, and he hasn't stood out to me. Centre back, midfield, it's nice he can play various positions. He hasn't stood out to me yet, to be honest. Him at right wing back was really uncomfortable. Just play Veltman now. He's used to the position. Strange. So I presume that means I can only read off that Lamptey won't be back for Arsenal, and therefore, if you're still sitting there with him, you should be getting rid and binning him basically. I wouldn't go near Brighton assets because you can't even guess the system. Never mind what the team's going to be. Yeah, Maupay's first goal for ages. Danny Welbeck, if you punt it for a few weeks, great. I'd be looking to probably come off after Arsenal. But then he's another one, isn't he? He's played today. Does he play against Arsenal in 2 days? Probably not. Connolly wasn't in the squad today, though. So does that mean they play Maupay up front on his own? That seems a bit grim. Do they try and exactly? Do they try and dominate the ball against Arsenal? They probably will. They'll look nice and pretty against Arsenal, and they'll draw the game.
Yeah.
The Brighton special. Your boys, that first half, mate, was pathetic. It was so bad.
You know, we talked about it, and I told you on the last, on the Tottenham, I think it was in Tottenham. I said we're going to be the first team on the beach.
Did.
I just did. It was just so lack of urgency. It was like me, but let me, like me as a fan thinking, you know what, let Brighton have the ball. I don't care. The players, it was the same. Just let them have the ball. We don't care. It's fine to let the opposition have the ball, but when you get it, you've got to be incisive on the counter. We probably had a similar amount of possession against Leeds, but when we got the ball and went forward, we created chances and it looked like there was an urgency to do something. Today, it just wasn't there. And I think it really showed that we missed the energy that Fornals brings to the team because Noble's not going to have the same legs.
I think he played the system today to match up to Brighton. And interestingly, if I look...
Or what he thought Potter would do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. To be honest, David Moyes has probably got a better read on it than us, although I don't think he expect to see Ben White at right wing back. But if you look at the games coming up for West Ham, looking further ahead, Southampton, Everton, Burnley, West Brom, Palace, Liverpool, Villa, all the way up till maybe Fulham in game week 23, which kind of flip-flops between two systems at the moment. They're probably not going to face a back three again. So I think he'll go back to the back four. So if anybody's looking at Johnson going, oh my God, 3.9 left wing back.
That's been my phone since the end of the game, James. Is literally on Wildcard is Johnson.
You can't beat a 3.9 defender scoring, can you? It's brilliant.
2 substitute appearances in the season so far, and it's the first game he's started. How can you be asking me if he's a lock at 3.9 now?
I'm not saying that you won't play that way again, or that you might cover at left back or at right back, but I think
don't buy him.
I think you'll go back to a back 4, and I think even the performance in the first half suggesting itself, this isn't comfortable like it was before with Masuaku and Cresswell. That, to be honest, Cresswell and Johnson was better in the second half than the non-existence in the first half.
I think Johnson, after he got his goal, just that little bit of confidence and settles your nerves a little bit.
It's also not his position. He's right-sided rather than left-sided.
This is the problem, right? What Moyes said after the game. He said that Johnson's a right back, but we know he can play on the left, and we needed someone to cover Masuaka's role while he's out, and he did a really good job there. Now, those comments don't help anybody who's thinking, all right, he's going to play Masuaka's role, and Moyes said he played well. Well, he's not going to say anything else, is he? You're not going to say something shit about him. So
no, of course not. He did all right.
If you really, really want a 3.9 and you're going to go for it, then good luck to you. But trust me, it's not something that anybody sensible should be doing.
It's another one. If you've got no problems and you want to get to a 3.9 defender, automatically, because he's got a goal at 3.9, he will in the coming weeks shoot up in price and you'll hold the value off it. So there is something in that. In terms of bench boosters, no, pay the extra for Balbuena. If you're happy to pay more, pay for Bono. If you're happy to pay for more, pay for Cresswell. If that's what you want to do defensively with West Ham.
Yeah.
Mark Noble, mate, I mean, in that system as well, it felt like Haller was playing on his own. What do you think of Haller as a punt for this towards 19?
I've got a little Excel spreadsheet in front of me, and where I've got Che Adams' name, who I'm carrying through because I already own him, it says possibly Antonio Haller.
Okay.
Possibly as a punt, but I really want him to be good. I really want him to do well, but he keeps doing things that make me think
same thing, kind of what I said about Wood. If I don't have problems, he can stay. If I've got the luxury, moving to Antonio, brilliant. If I also don't have that luxury because he's out, I would consider Haller, who's 6.1. I would not be buying it now.
Possibly.
It's too far off. You'd look at it and go, Burnley at home, West Brom at home. I mean, for a punt on the game week, if Antonio's definitely out, it's not bad. I would want to get rid of him immediately the following week, even though they're playing Crystal Palace, though. I couldn't bear it. It would have to be for the double only, in my opinion.
Yeah. So this Liverpool 1, West Brom 1 game, honestly, I watched the first half and thought, I've got other things to do. I'm not going to watch the second half because it's just too one way and too boring. What did I miss in the second half?
Well, the first thing you missed was that West Brom played more passes in the first 10 minutes of the second half than they did in the first 45 minutes of the first half. I think Jordan Henderson outpassed West Brom in the first half like 80 to 45 or something.
Yeah, I think he hit Sky Tier 2 in like 30 minutes.
Absurd. So they weren't in the game. However, as much as you're watching it and you messaged, I think you tweeted as well and said, if this was a boxing match, they'd stop it.
Yeah.
Well, no, because we're only on the ropes and they haven't gone down. And while it stayed 1-0, they were in the game.
You're right.
And then you reflect on it afterwards. You think, okay, the game's finished 1-1. And you think, how did that happen? And you think, how many saves did Johnston make in the game? And you think, well, the header from Firmino late in the game was a wonderful save. But how many actually, in all that period and domination, and Liverpool were playing lovely football. It wasn't, sometimes you watch, say, a City or a Spurs and they're really pedestrian on the ball. Liverpool were moving the ball quickly, threatening to go in behind, but weren't creating great chances, actually. And I think West Brom went in with a strategy. If we throw punches here, we're going to get fucked. If we can stay in the game at 1-0, even at 2-0, we're not dead. Stay in the game. And when Matip done his groin, West Brom smelt that there was a possibility. You could feel this was one they could have done without that 2,000 crowd being there. You could feel them getting nervous. Like, hang on, this is West Brom. We're used to blowing teams like this away. And the game didn't look in any danger. But you think, oh, they've won a corner here. They could cause some troubles. Long throw, Sam's back. They could cause some trouble here. It only has to fall. Someone swings a leg at it. Brilliant header from Ajayi. And I wouldn't mind betting, I think you're better off going for Johnson if you want to go for a West Brom defensive one, and that's what I'm likely to do. But I wouldn't mind betting that Ajayi between now and the end of the season goes and gets 4 or 5 goals. This is a unit, and West Brom and Allardyce will play to that strength
whack it in,
on set pieces. Do you want to pay 4.8 million for a West Brom defender? No, I don't think so. If he was 4.4 million, I'd be all over him at the moment. Genuinely. I think he'll be a major threat from set pieces for them. Attacking wise, you wouldn't want any of theirs, I don't think. They haven't got the worst double, Wolves away, West Ham away, but Pereira's, Dean Garner's, Colin Grant's, no interest. But a brilliant point from them today, and that will just psychologically give them such a mass confidence to know that, hang on, we've drawn at Anfield.
Yeah. And they got a point against City.
You think back, yeah, they drew at City as well. They lost in the last minute to Tottenham.
Yeah.
So in these bigger games, I think the messaging from the FPL perspective is, before you captain your player against West Brom, have a second thought about it. It might not be the way to go.
Yeah. And last but not least, let's talk about the evening game today. Wolves 1, Spurs 1. As predicted by you, I might add.
Did I?
Yeah, I think we thought it was going to be low scoring and you'd probably nick it.
Guarantee that.
It could easily be a draw. Yeah, I didn't watch the first 20, 25 minutes, but I then I watched the rest. And to be honest, the second half...
We weren't too bad in that period.
You in the second half?
No, in the first 20 minutes.
Oh. Obviously, I caught up with Ndombele's goal and a couple of bursting runs that he made as well. I thought Ndombele didn't play too badly, to be honest with you. But after that, in the second half, I mean, I thought Wolves were really good.
Wolves certainly deserved a point by the end, as a minimum. Absolutely. I didn't think they were good, though. To be honest,
they kept the ball well. They moved it. They moved it side to side. They didn't create the most chances.
Traore has given us mass headaches, and I think there was a clear strategy in terms of the way we played. Martin Tyler and Alan Smith doing my head in. Wolves should be testing Tottenham with this new system. No, mate. Reguilon's playing left wing, and it's just designed to try and double up and stop Traore. And Heung-min Son, at some point, they go, how's Tottenham playing 5 at the back? Okay. Are you wondering why yet Heung-min Son keeps ending up in the right back position? You fucking donuts, honestly. So, I mean, yeah, Son played on the right, which is never as effective as left. The idea was he'd make that inside run, as he always does. Reguilon, left wing, genuinely, without the ball, you feel straight into left back. So, yes, when Wolves had clear pastures of play where they held the ball, it might have looked like a back five in a line. And that's just purely, we're not letting Traore one-on-one with Ben Davies. They got really excited when Bergwijn come on for Reguilon. Where's he going to 4 at the back? No, mate, we're playing 4 at the back all fucking game, you idiots. And Reguilon's knackered because he just spent the whole game chasing after Traore and making sure he doesn't do anything. But I didn't feel like Wolves were going to score, actually. And I think even the Wolves fans would probably think, I don't think we're going to score here.
I felt like it was one of those where if you keep knocking at the door, eventually something will happen. And that's what they were doing. I thought Fabio Silva, considering he's a young kid who's trying to make it in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's a decent player.
Very different league to the Portuguese league and what have you. I think he's got a potential. He really has. I just felt like Wolves are going to keep knocking. And eventually, if you do keep knocking, the door will open. I thought they were right. They were really good on the ball, I thought. But they always are. They're really neat and tidy.
They were there to be done defensively, though.
That's the thing, isn't it? That's what's frustrating the hell out of.
Markel, for me, what I've seen so far, is not great. Semedo's a liability when someone runs in behind him. So, see, this is the thing, and this is what frustrates me. The strategy is always, what's the worst case scenario here? The worst case scenario is Traore is going to do us. So we'll move our best player from his best position to alternate position so we can defend him better. That's the answer. It's not because in the City game, it was a clear, right, okay, Son's not going to do Kyle Walker, let's move him out of that zone. I get that. This was to move him not because of what he could have done offensively to Semedo, would have been great, by the way. No, we move him because I think he's going to play Traore there. And then what did Nuno do? Really quite straightforward. I see what they've done here. Fuck it. Traore, piss off to the left for a bit. And then see how deep Son had to go in the latter stages of the first half. It's just bad strategy, in my opinion, all round from Spurs. And it's just such a painful watch. Everything that was good through Tottenham today went through Ndombele. The goal was a weird one. Patricio should save it. But everything that was good went through him. And the problem is he just hasn't got the fitness to play 90 minutes. And he goes missing at points off the ball. But when he drives, I mean, he had that run today when he laid it on to Reguilon.
Instead of Kane on the other side, yeah.
He picked the wrong pass. But when he strode through and he made the two Wolves players collide with each other, it's like, this is a beast. This is like, I don't know, it's like watching a Gerrard run through or a Yaya Toure or something powerful.
That was it. That was who they described it on the TV as Yaya Toure-esque, as a driving run.
he's got so much ability. He'll never be an FPL asset, by the way. But
no, but he'll keep getting better as a footballer, definitely.
I hope so. He's got it all in his locker. It's just up to him. But he's getting there now, and we're finally getting use out of the player. Kane was frustrating today, but through no fault of his own, because the link between him and Son was just too big and too distant. I'm quite fearful that this will happen again in the Fulham game, because, as I said, Fulham will have a lot of the ball. I think because of what Leeds do, there's a possibility that Son might play right up front against Leeds. I don't think that's better for Son. I think he needs to see the movement from left. It's where he's at his best. It's just not as effective from the right. Never has been.
Agreed.
Wolves assets not of interest. Tottenham assets at the moment. Son is in, but I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I do my stream tomorrow morning he's out, because I just don't want any of it. And I think one of the reasons for holding was always thinking in my mind, I might get to this point and I bought him at 9.0 and I might want to captain him against Fulham, or I might want to captain him against Leeds, for example.
No interest now.
No. And of the two, if you were to buy one now for the two games specifically, I would prefer Kane. Even
I'm with you. I was holding Son through, and now I'm just thinking he might not come through the wild card with me at all.
Kane will only come back in, I think, if I decide I don't want Son. And the one thing I like about having Kane is it holds for Jamie Vardy then. And then, to be honest, in 19, even if I have to make that move for a hit, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll do it. But Kane would have to come with, I think, for me to feel like I'm going to captain him against Leeds. And at the moment, I don't feel like that.
No. That's a quick rundown on the games for you. Or we now have Gameweek 16, 17, and up and coming thick and fast in the next midweek and weekend. Let's give the listeners a quick rundown on where we are with our wild cards, what the thought process is on the players we're bringing in, keeping, etc., and that's a wrap. And we can put this out and people can listen to it wherever they may be in the world.
So this team was locked pre-Liverpool game. I will almost definitely still go Trent, Robbo, Salah, but I can completely understand why a lot of people won't want to do that. My viewing on it is that with Matip out, it's scary, but Newcastle away next, Southampton away potentially without Danny Ings, then the double, decide afterwards. I think it's a better strategy for me rather than going without one of them. I think at the moment, I know I've been saying pre-game go Trent because it's a differential, but I think if you had to pick one, Robertson is probably the better call at the moment. So my team isn't locked like I thought it was at sort of 4 p.m, but I'll tell you what it is at the moment. So it'll be Johnson and McCarthy as the goalkeepers, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Justin of Leicester, but with no intention to play him this week. I don't think he'll play. Charlie Taylor and Balbuena. The idea being if I've got the luxury to move Charlie Taylor, great. If I haven't, then he can hang around. Salah, Fernandes, Son, Souček, Rafinha, Adams, Bamford, Wood. But I think what's likely to happen now is I'm likely to remove Son, jiggle it around, possibly for like Harrison as well from Leeds. I'm not bothered going to the pair of them because I just think if they have a really good day, they'll have a really good day.
Yep.
Look at Kane instead of Wood, which then allows the free movement to Vardy, or I'll leave it and just go Son to Rashford. Then I'm already set on 15 doublers, and I just deal with problems as and when they come up, and I'm sure there will be problems that come up. That's 1.8 million in the bank at the moment as well. So there's contingency there in terms of fighting problems potentially, which I'm well prepared to do. So, I mean, if I had the luxury to go Charlie Taylor to Reece James, for example, or even Ben Chilwell on the day, that sort of thing, if I had no other problems, I would maybe consider that, for example.
Interesting. So when you started your team and you started with McCarthy and Johnston in goal,
you thought we were going to have the same team.
Yeah, I'm like, shit here. James, you better not come up with all the same 15. But I already own McCarthy, and the price rise that he had yesterday only made me want to keep him more rather than move him on to a 4.5 because I bought him at 4.6. It's fine. So McCarthy and Johnston are my two goalkeepers. I wish I could get Pope, but I can't. If I really downgrade Son to someone a lot cheaper, I may still go back for Pope, but that's a future problem. I already own Robertson, Dallas, Soufal, and Lowton. All 4 have a double. I'm happy to carry all 4 of them through. I've also got value in 3 out of the 4 of them. Lowton's the only one I haven't. I'll then be buying Reece James for Cancelo right now. I think Reece James at 5.2 is fine. I own Salah, Fernandes, Soucek, and Son at the moment. I was going to get rid of Basuma and go to Saka. I don't know where I cocked up here thinking, I had a double. I don't know. But anyway, I now need to go from Son probably to Rashford, which means from Saka, I'll probably end up with Lookman, if I'm honest with you, as a 5.0.
I don't hate Ademola Lookman as a pick for bench boosters.
I mean, he's bench boost at the end of the day. So Bamford and Adams and Jamie Vardy instead of Harry Kane. So yeah, I'll be McCarthy, Johnston, Soufal, Dallas, Robbo, Lowton, Reece James, Salah, Fernandes, Soucek, Rashford, Lookman, Bamford, Adams, Vardy as it stands.
Is that just Jamie Vardy from Leicester?
Yes.
I really think for those who are on this strategy like us, I really think Leicester are a nightmare this week. I think they could make as many as 9 or 10 changes. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like they could easily play Daniel Amati at right back, for example. That's my thinking with Justin. I'd leave him out. But he's the sort of one who'll probably go and travel. Jamie Vardy, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even travel. Wouldn't surprise me at all, just because of his hip and stuff. It's ongoing. It's not a fixture they probably need to take the risk in. I've considered genuinely going with Iheanacho as a 1 week punt. I'm absolutely convinced that Vardy won't play. If I'm wrong, it'll be in my face, won't it? Everyone will tell me. So if you believe that he will play and you want him on that wild card, or you're thinking of buying him because it's Palace and Newcastle next, then by all means, please go ahead. My opinion is there is an element of risk to this. I can't have him from the start. It's just too expensive to. But I want him. I want him for Newcastle away, and I want him from for double game week 19, and I want him for the fixtures afterwards for Leicester as well. All right, it's Everton away in game week 20, then Leeds and Fulham. I want Jamie Vardy for them fixtures. That's the one that's going to give me the headache. Is how I manoeuvre for Jamie Vardy, and there's a good possibility I'm just not going to be able to do it.
No. Yeah, it's still a tricky time to try and finalise between now and tomorrow. Here's an interesting thing though, James. Like one of the things that we always preach in FPL is when you're on your wildcard, pull the trigger straight away. I didn't pull the trigger on the wildcard yesterday. I knew I was going to pull the trigger today. Basically, every player that I wanted to buy, none of them were going up in price. So I was like, to be honest, like I'm going to hit the button, but the only reason I want to move players in and out is to try and figure out how I'm going to get price rises. And if I move out a player that I've got value in and I then lose that value because I've made that transfer but want to jiggery poker it back round, I'm shooting myself in the foot. So there was no price rises happening yesterday that bothered me. So I didn't end up I still haven't pressed the button on my wildcard yet.
Don't forget, it's the sort of dumb thing you do.
No, I've got to do it tonight, mate, to be honest with you, because I want to get it done today. But looking at the price rises again for tonight, for tomorrow, I mean, we're looking at FPL statistics.co.uk. It's not obviously set in stone that these guys will go up. And by the time people listen, it's going to be irrelevant anyway. But there's only 6 players that are looking like they're going to rise. Bamford, Dallas, Justin, Maddison, Martinez, and Bednarek. I really thought there'd be a lot more volatility in the market right now.
The one I'm really hoping that goes up is Martinez, because he's still sitting in the squad at the moment. And Johnson's not far behind him on the price movements. And I want to get the rise out of Martinez and buy Johnson at 4.5 in the morning. That's what I really want to do. And that's another reason why I said to FPL Captain, I'm going to have to send you a screenshot for that stream tomorrow, mate, because I need to wait.
Both go up overnight and you're going to be screwed. I'm going to buy Johnson now. I'm going to be the one transfer that pushes Johnston's price rise up over the edge.
Similarly, with that in mind, I wouldn't rule out keeping Cancelo for this game week. I'd love to nick the value out of him. And he's not going to go up tonight, but he will do in the coming days.
Yeah, this is the problem here where Cancelo to Reece James and Kane to Vardy are where I'm making money and everywhere else is where I'm spending money. And I'm just not that enthused about it. A lot of people I've asked on Twitter, am I regretting leaving my wild card so late? To be honest, we would have never known what was going to happen with the bench boost and what have you. A couple of my mini leagues where I'm 20, 30 points behind and these guys have used their bench boost, and one of them's already used his free hit as well. He has 5 players in game week 18 as it stands right now, so it could be quite.
If he's got 5 good ones, that's all right though.
Well, yeah, he's got triple City in Cancelo, Diaz, De Bruyne, Callum Wilson, and I forget the fifth. But
they could all do well.
Basuma.
To be honest, the major Basuma, that's a cracker.
So there was 5. That was the 5. So I don't know. We'll see.
Do I regret not using it earlier? No, not at all.
Yeah,
genuinely, I've had a really, really bad FPL season, but I'd never at any point thought, I need to tear this up. I was never at a point where I thought, if I use my wild card, I'd be making 8 or 9 changes here. It was always, okay, yeah, luxury. I could make 4 or 5 changes here, definitely. But I was never really far beyond that. Just not worked out for me this year. Trent and Robertson was obviously a big gamble, which, to be honest, is more a case of that. In hindsight, I wish I wasn't so blinded by him at the start of the season and not bothered and got on early on people like Reece James and Chilwell, which would have then benefited me to have better, more powerful players further up the pitch, for example. So that would be the regret, not the strategy. The strategy, ask me after game week 26 if this has worked or not.
Yeah, indeed. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode. A bit shorter than normal, I think. I haven't even looked at the timer, mate, to be honest with you. But with the fast turnaround, it gives you plenty of time to listen to the pod, get your ears in. And if you are on Wildcard, all I can say is I wish you the very best of luck in Game Week 16. I would tell people what content we've got coming up, James, but honest to God, I have no idea.
I will tell them because I know.
Do it. I know there was a very, probably one of the closest people's poll or votes it was that we've had for a long time.
It was. So deadline stream 12:30 p.m. on Monday UK time. The deadline is 1:30 p.m. UK time. It's no 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. Crystal Palace Leicester's 3 o'clock. So 1:30 p.m. deadline. This is your podcast for Monday, essentially. Tuesday, we're going to do a Tottenham review of 2020. We're going to drag that off Patreon for a week for you and talk about Tottenham and West Ham's year that's gone. There's going to be some ranting in this. Wednesday will be Sky. Thursday is another full podcast reviewing all of the game week 16 action. Friday will be streaming again. Deadline stream Saturday. Rinse, repeat the week after, just a little bit different.
Indeed. There we go. Thank you all for your support and interaction on Twitter and everything else. Enjoy your Game Week 16. Good luck. Stay safe wherever you are. Ciao for now.
Good luck, everyone. Cue music, please, man child.